Hi, I'm Rosie from Love You Be Good. This is the educational branch arm of my professional pet care company, and I am coming to you today to talk about poop. Yeah, we're talking about poop today. Yeah, it's happening. It's a thing. That's what we're doing. So I'm actually going to be talking to you about Giardia. And the reason why I chose this topic as my first video, because of course I did, is because not too long ago, I actually had a friend ask a question about her puppy, and they were having some stomach upset. And come to find out, their puppy had actually contracted Giardia 5 times over the course of several months, which is it's a lot. It's quite a bit. And so the one thing about Giardia is that it's really, really difficult to get rid of if there aren't certain precautions that you take. So what we're going to talk about today is what is Giardia, how does your dog or your cat contract it, and what are certain things that you can do to help get rid of the parasite. So we're going to jump into that. Okay, so first and foremost, we're going to talk about what is Giardia. So I'm going to put something over here, a little picture or something of the life cycle of the parasite. So what is Giardia? So Giardia is a parasitic infection, essentially. So what ends up happening is I'm going to talk about dogs specifically just because my friend obviously had a puppy, has a dog. So it's a parasitic infection, and the way that dogs usually contract it is through contaminated water, contaminated feces, contaminated grass, contaminated surfaces, drinking standing water, and also self-grooming. So there's just a variety of different ways that this parasite can be transmitted, can be consumed, right? So what ends up happening is if a dog is exposed to the Giardiatic cyst, essentially, it's a microscopic little parasite organism. So if they drink, let's say they drink contaminated water. Let's say you go to the dog park and everybody's having a grand old time, but there's a communal water bowl, of course we all know, right? And it hasn't been cleaned or washed or anything in a really long time. And these little cysts are floating around in that water, and your puppy goes to take a drink. So what ends up happening is these cysts are then ingested, obviously, and they move into the intestines. And once they get into the intestines, they cling for dear life onto the intestinal walls. So what they do at that point is they start to absorb the nutrients from their host. After some time, what these parasites do is some of them actually decide, you know what, we're going to head for the exit. So what they end up doing is they hitch a ride in all the toxins that your dog has to get rid of and that we all get rid of every day, which is poo. And these cysts make their way towards the exit, and they actually can live on surfaces and outside of the body for weeks, if not months at a time. So this is where getting rid of Giardia is actually a quite difficult feat. So you're probably wondering, Rosie, hold on, how do I know if my dog has Giardia? So the way that you know is it takes about, the symptoms last about 2 to 6 weeks, so it takes about 2 weeks for your dog or your cat to start showing symptoms of Giardia. And they don't always show symptoms. Sometimes they're asymptomatic. It's a complicated thing. It can be. But the most common symptoms that you'll see are diarrhea and fatigue. So you'll start noticing that your dog's stools are significantly softer, that they have mucus in them, that they smell really bad. I mean, poo already doesn't smell great, but it has a much fouler odor. So it's pretty obvious when there's, hopefully, But it is pretty obvious when your dog isn't feeling well or when their bowel movements are irregular. So if your dog starts to exhibit signs of, having consistent diarrhea, consistent loose stools, and you're an avid dog park goer, if your dog is avid at doggy daycare, anywhere where there's a large group of animals coming together, there's a high probability that if your dog is showing gastrointestinal issues like diarrhea and just generally feeling more tired or acting more tired or sleeping more, that it's Giardia. Okay. Okay. So we talked about what it is. We talked about how they can get it. We talked about the symptoms. What we haven't talked about yet is how they get diagnosed. So the best thing that you can do is reach out to your vet and make an appointment, have them tested. So the vet can actually perform the test to see if Giardia is present, if the parasites are present in your animal's fecal. That's what your fecal tests are, right? Usually when you take your dog to the vet and they do a fecal test, that's what they're looking for. They're looking for parasites and worms and like all a bunch of the little creepy crawlers, right? All up in there. So you want to take your dog to the vet so that they can do a test. So if the test comes back positive, obviously, your vet and your vet can actually talk through what the best course of action is. Most of the time it's, antibiotics, maybe some fluids. The most important thing is obviously to keep them hydrated because diarrhea causes dehydration. So you want to make sure they have fresh, clean water. And we're going to get to the how do you keep it from coming back and all that right now. So if your dog is diagnosed with Giardia, okay, the antibiotics are going to do a really good job of cleansing their system. They're going to do a really good job of getting all parasites from, detaching from the intestine and getting out of the dog system. And that's all peachy keen and great. However, like I mentioned before, Giardia cysts can actually survive outside of a host for weeks up to months at a time. So that means that not only do you have to make sure that you get your dog the proper medication to get rid of the parasite, but you also have to be really, really careful about the surfaces that your dog sleeps on, touches, all that good stuff. So, where they poop, that's another one. So, my recommendation would be, and I'm going to put a list of things over here. My recommendation would be if your dog is diagnosed with Giardia, if that's what they have, and they have their antibiotics, my recommendations would be first things first, bath time. Gotta give them a bath. So you gotta because what can happen is those cysts can actually cling to their paws, it can cling to their fur, and so they live, right outside the exit. And if your dog is really good at grooming, like our dog is, Mickey, and you'll meet him soon. Mickey is really, really great at keeping things clean back there. So what you want to do is you just, want to give them a bath to get all those cysts off of their body. And then the next thing I'd recommend is washing all of their bedding. If you have a car cover in your car and they've been traveling to and from the dog park, washing that, any blankets or towels or anything that you use in your car also, anything that they sleep on, throw blankets on your couches. And I'm telling you, everything that they cuddle up on or touch or anything like that, for the next few weeks, I would recommend washing on a regular basis. So I know that sounds kind of crazy, but what you can do is you can set aside maybe like 2 or 3 blankets or 2 or 3 towels. And what you can do is every night or every morning when they wake up in the morning, you take the blanket that they slept on the night before, you replace it with a new blanket, you throw that other one into the wash, and you just keep doing that cycle, right? Because what you're trying to do is you're trying to kill the cysts, essentially. And, the other thing that I would recommend, not only is it bedding, toys. You got to wash their toys, either in the washing machine if they're soft plush toys. If they're hard toys, throw them in the dishwasher if they're dishwasher safe. If not, wash them by hand, hot water, dish soap, leave them out to dry. For the toys especially, what I would recommend is if you can, wash all of them at once and then give your dog one toy at a time. If they are toy obsessed, if they're toy dependent, like our dog is, Mickey is toy dependent for sure, then you obviously don't want to take that away from them, but you do want to make sure, that if you wash all their toys, you give them a clean toy, they play with that toy for that day, and then the next day when you throw their bedding in, you can take that toy, replace it with a fresh new toy that doesn't have any cysts or anything on it, and then you can wash the toy from the day before. Just, keep it as a rotating cycle. Probably two of the most important items to wash are your dog's food bowl and their water bowl. So I would also recommend washing their food bowl after every meal and before every meal. So just pick it up, wash it. If you free feed, then I'm going to do a video on that. I hope you don't, but if you do, then wash it every night before you go to bed so that it's super clean in the morning, and every day is a brand new day, right? When it comes to their water, I know water bowls don't get washed every single day regularly, but in this situation, I would highly, highly recommend that you clean their water bowl, both water and food bowl, hot water and soap, and you give them fresh water every single day. Like, completely empty out the bowl, wash it out, and then put a whole new bowl out with fresh, clean water. So I would also recommend that. Now, when it comes to surfaces, so Giardia can actually live on, like we talked about, bedding, toys. It can also live on your grass, especially if your dog poos. So when your dog poos in your grass, and be sure to pick that up immediately. So, the other thing I was going to say is for surfaces. So if you are a dog park regular, if you're a doggy daycare regular, the other thing I would recommend, not only washing your car seat covers or any towels or blankets in the area of your car that they sit in, but I would also remove those things and use Clorox wipes. So again, at your own risk, please don't mess up your car seats or your plastic liners or anything in the back, but use something that is color safe for the type of fabric that you have, that is that can disinfect, because really what you're looking to do is just cover all your bases. The other thing I would recommend too is for your person is, if you are an avid dog park goer and you walk into the dog park with your dog, the other thing I would recommend is sanitizing your shoes. So wiping the bottom of your shoes with a Clorox wipe, something that's disinfecting, so that you're not bringing those germs into your home as well. So one of the things that most people say when they find out that their dog has contracted Giardia is that they don't understand how it happened because their dog doesn't eat poop. But from everything I've just mentioned, poop is not the only way. And I actually forgot to mention one more, is that the other way that they can get it is also by sniffing infected poop. So they don't even have to eat it. They don't even have to. It's getting those cysts and parasites in that moist nose of theirs, like getting all up in there. That can also, they can make their way in that way as well. So that's another way that I forgot to mention, but I'm mentioning it now. So there you go. All right. So what have we gone through? So we've gone through what Giardia is. We've gone through, how do they get it? Where does it live? The different places they can pick it up. We've also talked about how you can, what you can do after they're diagnosed to help prevent the spread of the Giardia and reinfection. And I'm pretty sure some of you are going to have a question about, can my dog give me Giardia? Well, the risk is low, but it depends on what type they have, right? So at the end of the day, just if your dog does have Giardia, just be super vigilant. I mean, come on. The last couple years, we've been washing our hands for 20 seconds, right? So just continue to practice good hygiene. While your dog is on their antibiotics and while you're waiting for these cysts and parasites to empty their system, just don't like kiss your dog. Just don't like, just no makeout sessions with your dog. Like just cool it for a couple weeks till things clear out. And then, just don't chance it. It's a very, very small risk, but it's still a risk. So I would just don't chance it. Just, Okay. So I think that's pretty much it for today. Now, this obviously is not a fully, this is not like a complete breakdown of Giardia in its entirety. It's, I didn't mention the type of diet that you can get, that's best for them after they get diagnosed, that kind of stuff, because those are really things that I would highly, 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 highly encourage you, conversations that I would highly encourage you to have with your vet, okay? And obviously, if at any point in time they worsen or you see additional symptoms, talk to your vet. Talk to your vet. Hopefully have a good one. I'm going to do a video on that next, I think, is how to find a good vet. It's a tough one. They're hard to find. Like, I'm not even gonna lie. Super hard. But I think that's it for today. Actually, that is it for today. So that was my first video where I talk about poop. So hopefully you enjoyed it. And thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helpful. I hope it was informational, educational. If you enjoyed the video, you do the things. You know what you're doing. Subscribe to the channel. Put the bell on if you like. I don't know. I'm not a fan of the bell, but if you want to do the bell, do the bell. I would really appreciate it either way. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again in the next one. All right.